Hello and welcome to Book of the Mouse Club, episode 29, Wednesday, November 13th, 2019.
Morning, monsieur.
Where are you off to?
The bookshop. I just finished the most wonderful story about a beanstalk and an ogre and...
That's nice. Marie! The baguettes! Hurry up!
I'm sorry, but how can one possibly pay attention to a book with no pictures in it?
My dear child, there are a great many good books in this world without pictures.
I almost bounced clear out of the book. Some bouncing, huh?
Come home or make myself known.
J. Thaddeus Turtle, Esquire. Have you never met him? You will find his story in this delightful little book, The Wind and the Willows.
I've come to return the book I borrowed.
Finished already?
Oh, I couldn't put it down. Have you got anything new?
Welcome back. I'm your host, Courtney, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host, Emily.
Hey, Courtney, are you ready to talk about the biggest thing that dropped on the internet yesterday?
I am. So this episode is a little different for us. If you're just joining us for the first time, we are so excited to have you, and to our loyal listeners, thank you as always. So if you're not familiar with our show, we typically interview authors who have written books about Disney, or we read and review books about the theme parks or those that inspire Disney films. But today, we're taking that latter portion a little bit deeper. Since the new Disney streaming service, Disney Plus, dropped yesterday, we wanted to go through the Disney Plus offerings and go through their ties to literature. So don't worry, we won't be listing off every single one, but we do have a spreadsheet if you're interested.
Nice. This is so exciting. I have been waiting. I had it in my phone. I had it on my Google Calendar for when Disney Plus was going to drop ever since they made the announcement.
Very nice. Were you up at midnight for it?
Unfortunately, no, because with my school schedule, I get up at 5:30. So midnight is way too late for me, but I actually was downloading it onto my phone and was logged in by 7:30 in the morning while I was checking my morning emails.
Nice. I was awake by accident, kind of. I wasn't planning to be, because I think based on the countdown that they had on the website, people were thinking oh, it's going to be 3 a.m. Pacific time. You and I are on the East Coast, so it would be 6 a.m. our time, and I happened to go to Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party on Monday night, and so that goes until midnight. We got home a little after, just before 1 a.m., and, winding down, but of course I checked Twitter, and then I see that people are downloading it, so I'm like, it's time. And I thought, okay, well, I'll just be able to download it and maybe sign in, but the streaming will be blocked. Nope, it was 1:25 a.m., and I watched Steamboat Willie as my first thing.
Nice. That's a perfect selection.
I was thinking so hard about it, and we'll get to the end of the episode where we had some listeners share on social media what they planned to watch, and I was like, I think I want to watch Lady and the Tramp. And when I logged in, it's 1:25 a.m., I'm not committing to a nearly 2-hour movie, and just on the homepage, Steamboat Willie was there, and I was like, oh my gosh, okay, it all started with a mouse. This is a short. This is where I have to start my journey.
Yeah, I was most excited. I started with the Imagineering story. I went to the gym and I knew I was going to do a long cardio day. And usually when I'm on a treadmill and I'm rowing or all the cardio things that I do, I like watching stuff. And I was like, this is perfect. I will watch the first. They only have one episode right now. And I was like, this is perfect length, 1 hour. Hit the treadmill, I hit my rowing machine, I was able to watch the first episode. My second thing was Steamboat Willie.
All right. And then what else?
I watched a couple other Mickey shorts, like the band concert is one of my favorites. Mickey's trailer, that just took me back. It's been so long since I've seen some of those. I think the other one was Hawaiian Holiday that I watched. Very iconic images, but it's been a while since I think I've seen the actual short, though, versus just artwork. I watched a lot. Pixar in real life was an interesting concept where they're putting Pixar stuff out in the world and filming people, seeing how they interact with it. The World According to Jeff Goldblum. Forky Asks a Question, a couple Pixar shorts that have always been my favorite. I fell asleep watching Robin Hood. I
Oh,
love Robin Hood. It's one of my favorite ones to
it's
just
a
like turn
good
on.
bedtime one.
Um, yeah, I like, the whistling kind of puts me to sleep. It's nice. It's comforting. And then when I came home from school today, I watched Mandalorian.
Very nice. So you hit a lot of the like new and exclusive stuff. So we watched Steamboat Willie, and then we're like, okay, it's 1:30 a.m. It's time to go to bed. When I got home from work that day later, I watched more of the modern Mickey Mouse shorts. So the newer animation style that's inspiring the upcoming Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway attraction at Disney's Hollywood Studios. My boyfriend and I are a big fan of those. If you stay at a Disney resort, there's actually a channel that pretty much plays them on a loop for 24 hours. So it's like what we like to have on when we stay at Disney. And I'm like, oh, now we have this in our home. So just watched a few of those. I was waiting for him to get home. And then while we were cooking dinner yesterday, we put on the Mickey Mouse Club, the original. Like with Annette and Cubby and all of those. I don't think I realized that was going to be on there, so that was an exciting find. Good background show because, it's little vignettes. We started the live action Lady and the Tramp, but started to feel really tired. It was like 11:45 p.m. So we have about 25 minutes of that one left. I'm looking forward to finishing it. But this morning I did my own treadmill Disney Plus time, and I watched High School Musical, the series.
Nice. I was just telling you before this podcast, I'm heading up to New York City this weekend and I'm taking the bus. So luckily Megabus does have free Wi-Fi.
Oh, perfect.
And I've got about a 4-hour trek there and then back. So I've got about 8 hours of streaming time ahead of me. Lady and the Tramp is on my list because I want to see the exclusive live action film for Disney Plus. And High School Musical, the musical. The series. It's a long title.
It is, but I feel like I have to say the whole thing every time. And
right.
But I love how it rolls off the tongue.
It does. It works really well. So there's so much to watch. And I didn't realize that the Mickey Mouse Club was on there.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I'm most excited for. I like the new stuff, but I'm really excited for the things that are coming out of the vault.
I hope we see some episodes of Disneyland. I will say, or if you're a fan of Wonderful World of Color, there's only one thing from that right now that I have found, and that's Disneyland around the season. So if everyone could just go stream that so that they see that it's popular, maybe we'll get more Wonderful World of Color, because I have some of those treasure tin DVDs they did of those collections years ago, and I love those episodes where Walt's your host and just takes you through different stories.
That's really what I'm hoping for, is that maybe those treasure tins will now find their way onto the streaming service.
Yeah.
Even if they're short runs, like how Netflix, changes their stuff over. Similar idea that maybe they'll make one or two available and then they'll switch them out and they'll just be on rotation or something. But I just really hope to see that. So if you really love those, then you will love the Imagineering story. I know you haven't watched it yet, but it's a lot of color footage of Disneyland. And that blew my mind that I didn't know that was out there, because everything we typically see is in black and white from the television perspective.
Yep.
But having all this footage in color, it was kind of surreal, because when you see things in black and white, you think of them as being older and historic. But then when you see them in color, you're like, wow, that really doesn't look that different than today. Or it's a surreal feeling. But anyway, navigating the service. What do you think about this platform?
It seemed pretty easy to use. And, I'm sure someone might be rolling their eyes at us because of the reported outages. But for me, I didn't have a problem downloading it when it first showed up. And I guess because I was at work when most people were downloading it in the morning and everything, I didn't run into any streaming issues. Did you?
Once or twice,
okay.
But it refreshed for me pretty quickly.
That's good.
And for me, it was my homepage wasn't showing up. But then, so I just clicked the search button, and then I started typing in something, and then it popped up. So
what device are you using?
So I've used it both on my phone.
Okay.
And also off of an Xbox app on a television.
Gotcha. Okay, so
I also used it on my Amazon Fire Stick.
Nice. I have the Apple TV, which would be close to the Fire Stick, and then my phone as well. I haven't streamed anything on my phone, but I was using my phone to like add stuff to my watch list.
Yeah, so I had no issues. Yeah, nothing like that. It's pretty similar to Netflix, how they have like the titles, like categories, and then you like scroll over in like a line. I was kind of hoping a little bit for clicking on animated titles and I would just see all of them in chronological order. It seems like when I looked through the animated list, I didn't see some, but then further down there's another category called Out of the Vault, and then I saw some others. So it's not completely all in like
Yeah.
one place. They do have them categorized. But I did notice when I clicked the search, like the little magnifying glass, some other categories came up. And one that came up was like Disney through the ages or Disney through the decades. And it had the entire library of Disney stuff, live action and animated, it by decade. And the 90s one is super long because it has so much
I
stuff
bet.
from television, from
Once you put all that
movies, live
together.
action. So that was really cool because then I saw like all the silly symphonies in the 1920s decade and all this kind of stuff that I didn't realize was on there because it didn't show up on the homepage category. So I was really happy that at first I thought maybe not everything they were promising was making it on there, but then I found a lot more of the old stuff, which made me happy.
The one thing that I think would help, I've seen some tweets about this. I haven't gone through it as like a full alphabetical A to Z, but apparently a lot of stuff when you get to the D section is like Disney's Princess Protection Program, Disney's High School Musical, and like I feel like it should, from a
Go off
coding
of-
standpoint, yes, like
Yeah.
kind of like when you ignore the in the title,
Right. Yeah.
and do it that way, because that makes it hard if you're like, oh, I'm just going to scroll to the H for High School Musical, but then it's not there, and you're like, wait, is this on here or not?
Yeah. Interesting. I haven't.
But
seen that.
overall, I think it's well organized. And I kind of like those different categories because as you start to dig into them, you find stuff you might not have expected.
Yeah, and I like how things are portioned out. Like the homepage has everything in there, but then you can click on, I just want to see all the Star Wars, all the Marvel, National Geographic, which I had no idea was under the Disney umbrella. Now I know. Or I didn't know until all the marketing for Disney Plus.
Yeah, it was part of the 20th Century Fox acquisition.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So newer addition to the Walt Disney Company.
Yeah, and overall, I'm just excited to see how this grows from here because there's already so much on there, but they have so much that they also haven't put on there from their other acquisitions that I'm like, there's so much they can do.
Yeah.
But I kind of like it's not all in one shot. Like I'm liking that a lot of the original series only have one episode and they're putting them out weekly. I don't feel so overwhelmed that I like, oh my God, I have to binge watch everything right now because then spoilers and whatever. It's like, oh, I watched one episode of watched the one episode of Mandalorian, the one episode of the Imagineering story, and then the next ones are coming.
It's something to look forward to. But then if you want to binge, there are plenty of TV shows that seem to have, if not the whole series, at least 2 seasons.
Yes. Well, Courtney, we are a literary podcast, so we got to talk about the books. And listeners, Courtney and I have been so excited to prepare this episode, and Courtney put her analyst skills to the test. And she created a spreadsheet that we will share with you in the show notes of all the things on the initial Disney Plus offerings, and she has gone through, cataloged them by title, release year, and then do they have a book that they're inspired by or not, authors, the studio, so much information. And Courtney, I'm going to put you in an interviewee position for a second.
Sure.
I want to know, how did you create this spreadsheet? How did you get the titles? And then how did you figure out what was or was not based on books?
Yeah, I think, like even early on when Disney Plus was announced, or as we were like kind of approaching it, you and I were like, oh, I wonder how we could tie this in. As we've explored on our podcast already, there are so many books that influence Walt Disney himself or even later titles. So I thought there'd be a way to tie it together. Fortunately, probably about like a month and a half ago, the Disney Plus Twitter was like, we're going to tweet everything that's going to be on the platform, I think within like day 1 or so. And gosh, it was nearly a 700 tweet thread that took them 3 hours to complete. I fortunately didn't have to go through every tweet and copy and paste because that would have taken me a long time. Luckily, a lot of online outlets kind of made their own lists, and I found one that let me very nicely copy and paste into Excel where they just all went into their own rows. And I was like, cool, I have a little catalog here. And I will say what we're going to talk about is just the films. The article I had kind of did it nicely where it was film, television. So I cut out the television portion. There might be some titles that have an affiliation with a book, but I felt like those were few and far between. So this is both the live action and animated films spanning both Disney and Fox that have literary ties to them.
Nice. That was an incredible amount of work, so I'm really happy you did that. So Courtney, once you sifted through all the Twitter, got it all in a spreadsheet, how did you find out that they were based on books?
Sure. So this was a pretty labor-intensive part of it, but it was fun for me. I was like, I want to know the facts and figures here. So I quite literally went through Wikipedia. I'll apologize to you as a teacher. But it was the easiest source for me to verify off of. Unfortunately, I could find Wikipedia likes to make lists already. So I was like, oh, here's a list of all of the Disney animated films. So I opened each one in a new tab and kind of just systematically was like, oh, based on a book. Yes. I mean, some of them, like Beauty and the Beast or Snow White and things we've covered. But once I got into like the live action lists and like that catalog, that's where I really had to check. And on the Wikipedia, it'll usually say like based on the novel of the same name or based on the novel by blah, blah, blah. So that's how I filled out just like 100 so titles at a time over a few days. But it was fun for me because I like spreadsheets.
Nice. So let's talk about some of the stuff we found. This surprised me a little bit. You also went a step further and broke down the top authors that you found represented. This didn't surprise me so much, the folklore, that most of the stories come from folklore, and we're seeing that as we're doing our fairy tale favorites. But these kind of did, and they shouldn't. Once I thought about it more, they shouldn't have surprised me, but this last one did. So Mark Twain came in second. Stan Lee, which, when you think about it, not super surprising with all the Marvel.
Like just defaulted to Stan Lee on the Marvel stuff. I mean, I verified that he had an affiliation with it, and certainly we have to give credit. There are other authors that provided Marvel information, but I kind of just bucketed them all. But I will say the next one on the list, this was like our top 5, was Felix Salten. And he's the author of Bambi, but it turns out some of his other, I guess, like woodland creature type stories, they even inspired or were credited as like the story basis for some of the true life adventures. So I guess, the narration of that or like the framing of those documentaries come from his. Like he had one about a little squirrel. Did not expect to see that name in our top 5. And yeah. Rounding it out is William Shakespeare. That was probably like a little looser. I was like, well, Hamlet gets mentioned as a source material for The Lion King.
Yeah, Shakespeare kind of surprised me at first. I was like, really? And the only one I could think of was Lion King with Hamlet. But then going through your list, looking at a lot of the sequels. Yeah, like the direct-to-video sequels have
10 Things I Hate About You is on there as well.
Right. So some of the other things, I was thinking more just down the line of Disney animated studios and animated features, and I was like, really? But once we started looking at all of the live action stuff as well as shorts and putting it together, I was like, oh, okay, I see it now.
Yeah, Mark Twain has a few works going back to him I just wanted to touch on because there's a Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court, and that's had at least 2 or 3 live action variations. And then, of course, you think of Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn, and there's Tom and Huck from the 90s. So he was like our most prominent named author, whereas, folklore inspired like things like that was my term for things like mythology that inspired Hercules, because even though they might not have been initially written down, I still think that's an important, historical aspect of literature, as well as like the origins of storytelling.
Absolutely. For our listeners, just to give you a quick rundown of, I went through the list and I'm feeling inspired, Courtney, because we have hit a few, but now I'm inspired to add more. So already things that we've covered on this podcast are Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs from Grimm's Fairy Tales.
That was episode 15.
We had one half of Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad because we read The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. So that's the Ichabod half of that short by Washington Irving. That was in episode 11. We've done Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh by A.A. Milne from episode 5. The Little Mermaid from Hans Christian Andersen, episode 27. Mary Poppins, episode 14. And coming down the line, we're going to have some other folktale, fairy tale favorites coming at you. So stay tuned for that as we approach the snowy season coming down the line.
Well, I will say we have plenty to work from, though. So just my other overall breakdown, the count function in Excel is my friend, as are cell lookups. There are nearly 475 total film titles based on the list that I received. And when I broke it down, just overall, over a third of them are based on a book. And that was actually, surprisingly for me, I said this is the overall cut. Let's see what is live action, or sorry, let's see what's based on a book, and it came out to about like 33%. But then when I was splitting it by animated and live action, that actually was the same. Very close. 35% of animated titles are based on literature, and 32% of live action titles were based on literature. I think that's what most surprised me when I started to get into a lot of those films of the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Like even The Parent Trap is based on a German book. So that was really fun to like find these obscure titles. So I think, as we've said before, we will probably never run out of content for this show. And Disney Plus has made it very easy for us to find some of those titles.
Absolutely. And reaffirming that we are definitely not going to run out of content. In a way, that 1/3 of titles was both exciting. I had some mixed reactions to this. So I was surprised when I was like, wow, 1/3 came from literature. Like that's nearly 200 titles. Let's, round, give or take, that Disney, the company, has used literature as an example. Like that's amazing. But at the same time, I was like, wow, that's also a lot of original content. Disney has come up with a lot of their own stuff, even though they have a lot as well that is from literature. So I took that two different ways.
I feel like I expected the animated number to be higher, just because I feel like when you think of Disney animated films, we often think of its fairy tale roots. It's something we've discussed on this show in the past. But I think what kind of skewed that number is when you think about original content, that's definitely a space that the Pixar animated films dominate. None of those are like directly inspired by a book.
That's true. But yeah, so this was really cool, Courtney. So thank you for taking the time to break this down. And listeners, I hope you really appreciated this breakdown. It's really cool. Check out the spreadsheet when you can after listening to this episode. It has
filter tabs, so it makes it easy to go through and kind of like whittle things out.
Courtney got super fancy.
I love spreadsheets.
She got super fancy. All right, so let's talk about these titles. Let's keep talking about books. Anything else that surprised you about this list?
I think just really what stuck out to me was the live action, because I thought that wasn't going to be as time intensive, and I was like, oh my gosh, like every other title in the 70s is a book, and a lot of them really were more obscure. So I'm curious. I'd love to dig into that more, just maybe on my personal time. How did they decide to do this book? Like who found this German book about twins who are separated at birth and reunite?
Well, Courtney, once we read all of these and we do some research, we will find out. For me, stuff we haven't talked about yet, the one thing that really stood out to me was the DCOMs. How many of those are based on books?
I'm glad you saw that. I totally blanked on that. Especially like sure we'll talk about what we want to read, but like Xenon is one of my favorite DCOMs, Disney Channel original movies, for those who don't know the acronym. I was like, Xenon is a book? So that was surprising too.
Yeah, those caught me more off guard than anything else, and that was kind of awesome. Like The Cheetah Girls is a book called The Cheetah Girls by Deborah Gregory. Had no
Yeah, I think
idea.
it's a series.
Same with Confessions of a Teenage
I
Drama
knew
Queen.
that. I read that book as a teenager. Yeah, it was pretty good. I got it at the library in middle school. It's a fun one. We can do that. We should do like a DCOM series at some point. Good times. It's another summer series.
Decom Summer. Oh, I like it. I like it a lot. But yeah, that was the only other thing that truly surprised me beyond different authors that I was not expecting. I think that surprised me the most.
It also made me think somehow they've been adapted more than once. There are 3 versions of Freaky Friday, which it was based on a book, are available on Disney Plus. So you have the original with Jodie Foster, you have my favorite version with Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan, and then the more recent Disney Channel original movie. So I was like, oh, all 3 from the source material. I would say I have read that book, and the original with Jodie Foster most closely follows that book, because I feel like it was produced shortly after the book's publication, so it is very much of the 70s, whereas it becomes updated for a modern audience in those later editions.
And like you said, with A Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court, we have The Unidentified Flying Oddball in 1979, and then A Kid in King Arthur's Court in the 90s.
I was
or
like,
in the
that
80s.
second one is a much more
Oh, there's
obvious
1995
version of that. Oh, the other Mark Twain title is The Prince and the Pauper, which you have a Mickey cartoon of that. I have that on my watch list because I don't think I've ever seen that in its entirety.
Another one would be Treasure Island. We have the original live action. You have Treasure Planet.
You have Muppet Treasure Island.
Muppets?
Yeah.
Of course, the Muppets. So yeah, a lot of these stories have been used quite a few times, even if by Disney and its affiliated companies.
Yeah, Swiss Family Robinson had a Fox title and a Disney title. So I was like, that's cool that they would be willing to, put what might have been their competitor at the time, but now it's all under the umbrella, like, oh, you can watch both versions.
Very interesting. One that shocked my boyfriend is I've never seen Old Yeller.
I've never seen Old Yeller either.
Okay, I thought I was like the only person, and he's like, "You're un-American. Who are you that you've never seen Old Yeller?" It's like the childhood rite of
Disney
passage.
Card.
I'm sorry, I've seen like
Well,
clips.
I'm
I've just
like,
never seen it completely.
I know how it ends, so why do I want to put myself through that?
I know, right? But I had like no idea that that was also a book.
Yeah, so a lot of those, it's been now like a week since I went through this document because I was like, oh man, gotta keep working to get this done. Definitely I would encourage, if our listeners do want to go to the spreadsheet, click the filter for yes, book, and filter for live action, because that's, I'd say, the most interesting section, in my opinion.
Yeah, found lots of stuff. Needless to say, it's on our watch list to watch Old Yeller because I need to be cultured. But to defend myself, every Disney fan has their weak spots. You and I have watched lots of things that other Disney fans have not. So this is our have not.
But now we have Disney Plus. But speaking of
I know
those titles, why don't we go through kind of maybe just in general what we're excited to watch still, and then maybe what we want to do on the podcast. So I'd love to know, what are your top 3 animated titles you're just most excited for in general?
So this is really hard, Courtney. And looking at your list, because I can see what you typed, I have a couple of the same things, so I'm going to let you take those. But one that is on my list is I have been trying to watch every Disney animated feature in chronological order, and I struggled a little bit with the package films to get those all done because they're very hard to find. I had to buy a few on Amazon. But one that I did not have was The Reluctant Dragon, and I missed the window when it was on Netflix. So that one is on my list, especially since we read Ink and Paint, and Ink and Paint said that there's a whole section of where they film in the Ink and Paint department. So that's why I really want to watch. It's technically animated, even though it has live action.
And it's based on a book, or at least the animated portion is.
Yes, The Reluctant Dragon by Kenneth Grahame. So that's one for me. As well as, similar to you, a lot of like the Disney afternoon, after school stuff that we used to watch all the time. I'm going to let you talk about a few that are shared on your list, but another one on mine is Goof Troop. You didn't have Goof Troop on yours.
Well, I just meant in general. So I had animated television series like Darkwing Duck, Tailspin, Little Mermaid.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, Little Mermaid series.
We
super
geeked
excited
out on that.
because we just talked about those
on our Little Mermaid episode 2 episodes ago.
So I'm really excited about those. And then some of the direct-to-TV sequels or direct-to-video sequels, because I haven't seen all of them, and I know they're not always the greatest, but I do need to round out my Disney watching library here. And
that's what I have in my watch list right now: Beauty and the Beast, Belle's Magical World.
I've never seen it either.
It came out when we were a kid, but my mom, I guess, just like didn't buy that one on VHS. And then it's weird because it like showed up in Disney movies anywhere, but then it was like, it's in the vault. And I'm like, so was this ever released on digital? So I've never seen it. I've seen the Christmas one, which I love. I will say from the title card, the animation quality looks horrible, but I just really want to watch it because you and I are both big Beauty and the Beast fans, and I'm like, this is a missing puzzle piece in my Beauty and the Beast knowledge. And I think it's tied to storytelling as well. I believe I've seen clips, and there's like a talking book character that feels very Page Master to me.
Yeah, so some of that. Yeah, so a lot of the similar things. Rounding, those would be mine.
Other
any others
big
that you
one
had?
is Legend of the Three Caballeros. And this is a television series that was, I think, developed for Disney Life or one of the like preceding Disney streaming services that wasn't available to us in the US. I like DuckTales, and it seems to be in that vein. Different animation style, but really focused on Donald, Panchito, and Jose and like their adventures. I've just heard good things about it. So I'm excited to check that out. It seems like it's one of those things where it has like obscure references to other Disney pieces. So I love little Easter eggs or like winks and nods to the audience, which is why I love the show House of Mouse, which is not on Disney Plus. And if they could bring that, that would be great.
That would be I loved House of Mouse. Because I like that you had that merge of like a current modern Mickey, and then you got your 6 minutes to watch
little cartoon,
an old Mickey cartoon. Loved it. All right, so Courtney, what are your top 3 animated titles you want to read for our podcast?
We both purchased The Wind in the Willows, so I know that we need to get to that at some point. And I feel like, you know, it's the other half of the adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad. We covered Sleepy Hollow, as you said, so I think it would be a nice one to round that out and complement it. My other one, though, what surprised me in the research was for The Great Mouse Detective. I kind of just assumed, like when I was filling it out, I was like, oh, this is going to be Sherlock Holmes. And then I went to the movie website, and it's good that I didn't make any assumptions because it is actually based on a book series called Basil of Baker Street. And I knew that that was the working title of the film, but I didn't realize that's because that's what the book was. I know you love that film as well, so I think it'd be really fun to kind of like see how those younger reader books relate to the film. And my final choice is controversial, and like maybe we shouldn't do it because I don't want people to be like, it's not Disney, and like just assume based on the title of our podcast episode. But I know that you love this movie too, and that is Thumbelina. And that is a Fox animation film available now on Disney Plus. And I'm like, oh, I want to revisit Thumbelina, and I feel like it'd be fun to read that fairy tale because I really have enjoyed our fairy tale favorites as we've brought them in, just kind of seeing like how they differ from maybe the more iconic animation that we're
I mean,
familiar
it can be tied back to Disney. They did acquire it, so we can talk about that history and that process.
just like when I was a kid and somebody said Anastasia was a Disney princess, like I would get mad at them. So I don't want someone to get mad at us and assume we don't know anything.
But it is now. So my top three, I substituted out Basil of Baker Street for my alternative. So my number one is 101 Dalmatians. Ever since I learned from the Disorder podcast that 101 Dalmatians, the Walt Disney animated feature, is based off of the 101 Dalmatians by Dodie Smith, I was surprised and I had no idea. So that one has been in the back of my mind for a while to want to read. I also want to read The Adventures of Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn. I've read them in the past, but it has been a while. When I went through my classics phase where I only read classics. But I feel like there's such a connection between Walt and Mark Twain, and that's why it shouldn't be surprising that Mark Twain is high on our frequent author count. But I feel like exploring that history and looking at how the Disney Company put it into the movies from the book, but also we can bring Walt's voice into that because he's talked about Mark Twain so much in his interviews and in books that I think that would be really cool. And then my substitute would be The Chronicles of Prydain. I think I pronounced that right. That was the book that was the basis for The Black Cauldron. And The Black Cauldron, I feel like, is one of those movies that people forget is a Disney movie. So I think it'd be really interesting to see how that movie came about from this book.
Yeah, I think it's a
I'm just
longer
curious.
series. So, like, what did they pull from the series? Kind of like, I mean, you know, we read just the first book of Mary Poppins. So seeing, okay, what was in here, what's clearly in other editions.
Right, and The Black Cauldron has such a niche cult fan following that I just feel like it'd be fun to learn more. It's a movie I've only seen, I think, twice.
I've definitely seen it once. That might be it.
One of my trainers from my Disney college program at one of our, like icebreakers, getting to know your training group, she asked for your Disney character, and hers was
I have
Gurgi.
a t-shirt with Gurgi on it. I do like Gurgi.
So I feel like a lot of people know Gurgi. But now I think of her every time I hear Black Cauldron. So maybe in honor of one of my trainers.
There you go.
We might have to do a Black Cauldron episode.
That would be fun. Well, let's go through live action too. So just in general, actually my 3 live action do have literary ties as well, but they differ from what I'm most excited or like would like to prioritize for this podcast. So I'm really excited to watch Tuck Everlasting. I liked that movie, and I'm like, I don't think I've seen it since it came out in theaters.
Alexis Bledel.
Yeah, fun fact. And I need to give credit to Teresa on Twitter. She is Gertie the Dino or something very close to that. She is also from Maryland, as I am originally, and she reminded me today that it was filmed in Harford County, which is we were both from. And I was like, oh my gosh, I remember that being a thing. So fun to see that. Excited for the DCOMs, which, as we said, were very often inspired by books, surprisingly. I feel like there's a lot of DCOMs from that, like, 1998 to 2004 range, like pre-big High School Musical, that I saw just once. You know, I watched them because it was a big event. Like, you'd watch it that Saturday, but this was before DVR, but we weren't really, like, recording things on a VCR anymore. And so, like, I only saw them one time, but still they stuck with me. So things like Rip Girls or like A Ring of Endless Light. Like, oh, like I want to go back and see what that movie's about because I only have a vague recollection of it. And I've also never seen The Rocketeer, which I found out doing this research was based on literature as well. So I'm like, that seems like a fun, like, I feel like people, it's an underrated film, but it does seem like a lot of people like it. So I want to see what's up with that. What about you for live action?
So I am in general excited for a lot of the old Disney live action. You and I have talked about this both on this podcast and in person a lot, that were just not super well versed in live action. But more nostalgic that I'm like really excited for just because I'm like, this is my childhood. I was super pumped to see that all 7 seasons of Boy Meets World is available.
Yeah, I know you're a
I'm a
big
huge
fan.
Corey and Topanga forever. I'm really, really excited about that. So I think that's going to quickly become my 20-minute treadmill movie
Yes.
show watch. That's how I've gotten through Friends. That's how I got through that 70s show. Like those shows that you turn on when you're doing laundry or you're just going to go do 20 minutes on the treadmill or something. So I'm really excited about that. I'm excited to see all of the original Muppet titles,
Yeah.
all the original Muppet movies, as well as the Muppet movie, are all on there. I'm hoping that maybe the Muppet Show, like the show,
Like the
will come on
original.
at some point.
I will
Yes.
say though, the Muppets, like 2015, the one that was on ABC, should have gotten another season, but the whole first season is on there, and that is a good show if you like the Muppets.
I didn't get to see the whole first season. It was during my graduate year, so it was really hard for me to be home because I had night classes. So now I can watch it. And then DComs for me as well. Smart House was one of my favorites. Brink,
Yeah,
Motocross.
those are. Oh, I feel like they aired Smart House. I'm pretty sure I've only seen like
They air
Brink
Smart House a lot.
once.
That's a good one.
Brie
That
Larson
one's pretty
in
popular.
Motocross though, like baby Captain Marvel. She plays the little sister.
Yeah.
I think it'll be fun to like
There
go
she
back
is.
and watch these decoms and be like, wait, that person's actually really famous now in a few instances.
Yeah. So those are some big ones for me. So let's switch gears. What are the top 3 you want to read
I
for
gave
this
one
podcast?
of them away, and that's Xenon, just because that honestly, aside from like Halloween Town, because I'm just really into Halloween, like Xenon might be my favorite decom. So I would love,
Zoom,
yes,
zoom,
make a
zoom.
go boom, boom, boom.
My supernova
Thank you.
girl. I love it. I'm so
Yes,
excited.
I
We definitely need to
I
do
also
that.
think that'll be a fun one to read because remember it's Xenon Girl of the 21st Century. So when that came out in like 1998, it's like, ooh, like we're almost there. Like I feel like it's supposed to be like it's not that far into the future. Like I want to say it's like 2040 something. And I'm like, girl, like you and I will hopefully be alive in 2040 something. So it'll be yeah. I just want to see like what were the predictions in the book and how that relates and how it was transformed. Like Xenon's 3 movies. Is it one of those where okay, the first one was based on the book,
Yeah.
but then they're like, this is popular, we're gonna just keep going with it, or like are they all tied to the story?
These are questions we can answer if we
I know,
read it, Courtney.
I know. Just previewing a little taste. I had Pollyanna on there. Because I think that's just like a classic book that I've never read. And I love
And a classic
Haley.
film.
Exactly. I love Haley Mills. So it would be great to get into that. And the other one is a little bit more unique. So I think this is our first like Disney Plus inspired book. The upcoming series One Day at Disney, when it launches, will also have an accompanying work of literature. My take on it is I think it's like a coffee table type book published
I
by
think so.
Disney Publishing. So I think it'd be fun to see like how that coffee table ties to the series. Like are there more behind the scenes type things in one or the other? So that sounded promising.
That book is actually on my Christmas list.
I need to put it on mine.
So, yeah. So, my list, I also had a Haley Mills. I picked Lottie and Lisa, which is the basis for The Parent Trap. Overall, Pollyanna was up there for me too, and I just decided to pick one. And both I used to watch all the time, the original Haley Mills versions with my
Aw.
grandmother, so those were really special to me. So I was like, oh, Parent Trap, that'd be so cool to see where that came from because it's had a remake with Lindsay Lohan, and that one's incredibly
I love
popular.
that
So I'd love to
one.
read the book.
That's my Parent Trap.
It's
Controversial to
just-
say, but
That's true.
that's so nice out first.
I would argue it's also my Parent Trap, but I think, equally seen the original just because of my grandmother. But if I was at home at my house, we were watching the Lindsay Lohan version. So I've seen both. The Walt tie-in, Treasure Island. I also have read that, I think about 5 years ago when I was going through that classics phase. It's really good. I remember very much enjoying it. And just the basis that Walt has with pirate lore, Pirates of the Caribbean. It was his first live action film, but then we love the Muppet Treasure Island as well as Treasure Planet. I feel like there's just so much there that we can tie Disney Company, Walt Disney wise to Treasure Island. So I think that'd be a really special one. And then to continue our campaign to make bring Roger Rabbit back to the forefront of Disney animated characters, it is based on a book called Who Censored Roger Rabbit?
Excellent choice. We'll definitely have to do that as well.
So those are the ones I'm looking forward to. But there's so much. Like, it was really hard when we said, okay, let's only pick 3. I was struggling
I know.
a little bit.
I'm like, oh gosh, what do I really want to prioritize? But I think that'll help us plan ahead for 2020.
I'm really excited. And just in general, to wrap up this conversation, what are you also just in general looking forward to with Disney Plus? Because it does have so much you can do.
I thought kind of broadly, and we mentioned, I think we both have a similar habit, but I'm looking forward to binge watching at the gym. Like you said, having those like 25-minute TV shows are perfect for the treadmill. So like that would be a good time for me to go through those animated series, like Darkwing Duck or Tailspin. Because I have my iPads, I can just like take it with me. There's Wi-Fi at the gym. It just seemed like a nice way to get through it. It's like I'm almost like looking forward to going to the gym just to be able to like watch Disney Plus.
It's your solo Disney Plus time, and you don't have to share the TV with anybody.
There are things that I'm looking forward to watching with Doug. So I know if I watch that Imagineering docuseries without him, that would be bad. So things that we can watch together, but then I'm like, Doug probably doesn't want to watch High School Musical, the series. So that'll be my gym time. But also some upcoming promise material, certainly an impressive volume here at launch as I went through logging everything in that spreadsheet. But we got more to come, like the Lizzie McGuire update. I cannot wait for that.
That's my big update. I can't wait for that. I was super excited when they announced that at D23, and I'm super excited that it's Lizzie in her 30s, and I love that they're making a show marketed towards the demographic that watched Lizzie McGuire. Like, we're approaching our upper 20s and our 30s, so it is meant for us, and that made me so happy that they didn't just try to make another show like Girl Meets World where they were nostalgically appealing to us with the original cast, but it was a show meant for a preteen demographic. But this is going to be Lizzie, and that makes me really excited.
Very cool. Well, we know we had a lot of listeners on social media. We put out on our Instagram, what are you going to watch first? So if you don't mind, I'll go through them. All right, so we have a Star Wars fan. I was surprised that not more people responded with this because based on what I've been seeing as what people watch first, I've seen a lot of Mandalorian, but one of our social media friends, Heather, said that she was going to watch that first and then immediately follow binge watching So Weird, which is definitely a TV show from my childhood on Disney Channel that I'm like, did I dream that? Was that a fever dream? Do you know that show at all?
I remember the title, but I did not watch it.
It was like X-Files for children. So good, maybe like a Halloween one to watch. Gotta come back around next season. We had plenty of other Disney Channel fans. Michael said that he was excited for DuckTales. He also mentioned Hercules. Betsy said every Disney Channel original movie. We also had our friends over at My Favorite Disney Pod say, give me all the DComs, especially Brink. So definitely
Brink was so
a lot
good.
of DCom 90s kids excited for that. Caitlin specifically said she was excited for Phantom of the Megaplex. Another good Halloween one, but you can watch it anytime. And Katie said High School Musical, the series. On the live action front, Heidi gave us a deep cut. She said she was excited for The Happiest Millionaire. That's one I've never seen. What about you?
I
Oh,
have,
nice.
because that was another one on my grandmother's lineup.
Good. Kudos to your grandma
My
for
grandmother
educating you.
was very Disney like she had a lot more Disney live action than I think I took advantage of when she used to babysit me, but Happiest Millionaire was one that creeped up not as frequently as like Pollyanna or Parent Trap, but it, some virtuosity got in there. I know the
Very.
song.
I've heard the song because it's on one of those like classic Disney Roundup CDs. But I'm like, oh, I don't know this movie. So I'll have to.
It has been a while. If I remember, they have a pet alligator.
Very cool. We had Beth, who was kind enough to tag me and say that I inspired her to watch Steamboat Willie first, but then she followed it with the Imagineering story. Mariana also said that. And our friend Dan over at the Tomorrow Society podcast, he has had some great recent interviews with former Imagineers. So I'd really love to hear his thoughts on this series, since he said he was going to watch that first. So that rounds up our insights from our friends over on social media. We appreciate you responding and engaging. And Emily, why don't you share what's next for us this month?
Courtney, I am really excited to share this. Listeners, we have heard you since we started this podcast all the way to almost 2 years ago. And from that initial survey we sent out to our friends and people over Facebook and Twitter and Instagram who have told us they've wanted to hear from Jim Korkis, you are getting your wish. We are going to be interviewing Jim Korkis next week, and that'll be our next episode.
We have to give major credit to our friends over at the Sweep Spot who we had on our previous episode for getting us in touch with Jim. We're excited to talk to him. I think he's excited to talk a little bit more about the publishing side, as we like to discuss. So Jim has written over 25 books about Disney. Emily and I have kind of like split reading between a few. I'm reading The Vault of Walt, his first one, and the most recent, which is about Walt Disney and space. Emily, what have you read to prepare?
I've read How to Be a Disney Historian, as well as I'm dabbling as well into Vault of Walt #1 and also his current #8, just to have some similar ideas. #8 is his most recent. It only came out like 2 weeks ago.
So it'll be great to hear all about his experiences as a Disney historian, the wealth of interviews that he's conducted himself. So we're so excited to bring that to you later this month. In the meantime, you can engage with us as always on social media. We are at Book of the Mouse on Twitter and Instagram, or you can email us with comments or ideas to bookofthemouseclub@gmail.com. Be sure to leave us a review on iTunes so others can find our podcast and read and listen along with us. If you'd like to follow me, Courtney, I'm on Instagram at GreatGuthsby and on Twitter at Courtney_Guth. That's COURTNEY_GUTH.
And you can find me, Emily, on Instagram and Twitter at the same handle, at Emily_McD. So that is EMILY_MICKDE.
Awesome. Well, we're going to get a closing quote from one of Jim's works. Why don't you lead us into that?
Yeah, so in honor of Jim Korkis coming on our show next week, another great book he has out there is he's done extensive research on Walt Disney's quotes, and he has a book called Walt's Words, Quotations from Walt Disney. And this comes from the television chapter, because I thought this tied in really well to the spirit of Disney Plus. So Walt has said, TV has given immediate opportunity to young directors, writers, and players. They believe in new ideas. They take chances, and if they fall on their faces, they fall forward. Television has opened doors to a new wealth of story and entertainment material. And
I think that's excellent foreshadowing of Disney Plus for sure. So we have a wealth of stories and entertainment material to keep this podcast going for many episodes to come. But until next time, we'll see you real soon.
Toodles, everybody.
Book of the Mouse Club has no affiliation with the Walt Disney Company. The views and opinions expressed by hosts and participants are theirs and theirs alone. They do not represent the organizations or companies they happen to work for.